Every time, all 28 times?
Welcome to Winter Nation. My name is Michael Fagan, and I'm your host. Today, I'm very happy to announce that I have Donna Albano. She's an associate professor at Stockton University for tourism and hospitality. We're going to try to put a positive light on our industry today. There's a lot of doom and gloom, and that's all it seems we've been talking about for months. But if you're going to college and you're learning about hospitality, and not just being a restaurant manager, I think we're going to find a lot of different ways that we can make money using our talents. If you're an old dog in the business, I'd love to hear your comments or any suggestions to young people coming up. And if you're an old dog in the business, maybe we can find you a way to use your talents to make some money in these different times. Also, if you like the podcast, I hope you share it, because chances are you have a lot of people in the industry that are your friends, and maybe they'll hook on and maybe they'll like it and share it. It's live, it's interactive. The more comments, the more fun. Donna, how are you today?
I'm well. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Out of the gate.
I've been a big fan for a long time. Go to some of your events in the city, see you speak. You're always talking about my industry, our industry, in a positive way, and that always makes me happy. Tell me, or tell everybody, what you do, what your day job is, what you what you teach. I'm going to share it, so don't think I'm being rude, but I'm going to share it. That's why I'm looking down.
You're going to share what I'm going to say, of course, that we're sharing it.
No, I'm going to share it on Facebook. Other than Waiter Nation, I share it to, I have a Michael Fagan. I also have a Mike Fagan. So I share it, and maybe a few more people check in and watch.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of yours as well. I know because I know what you do for the hospitality and tourism industry. Not only do you work hard and your boots are on the ground, but you also interact with a lot of my students and now alumni along the way, because it's just as big of an industry as it is. It's really that small. There's always, it's not even 6 degrees of separation, right? There's 1 or 2 degrees of separation. So thank you for what you do. And I think I can't believe it's taken us this long to kind of get together and do this, because we just share so many of the same passions and also the same objective, right? To just spread the gospel of hospitality, which is what I do every day. So that's the short definition of what I do. But I am a faculty member at Stockton University.
Right.
And before that, I was at Atlantic Cape Community College before I went to Stockton. So I'm so old that Stockton didn't have hospitality and tourism when I got into education. So I taught there first. And when, a little late to the game, Stockton thought, hey, this might be a good degree to offer, being so close to a tourism mecca like Atlantic City. Maybe we should offer a hospitality and tourism management degree. And, my ears perked up immediately. I had a colleague I had a professor that taught me at Widener University. So I'm a product of a hospitality management program, Widener University in Chester, Pennsylvania. And I came down to Atlantic City to do an internship from Widener. And I worked at the Sands Hotel and Casino way back in the day. We will leave the year out of that. So, but that's where it all started for me. I could not wait to graduate, get in my Ford Escort and drive that expressway for one last time to plant myself permanently in Atlantic City. And that's pretty much how it all started.
So when you teach hospitality, it's a big umbrella. You're teaching front of the house, back of the house, hotels, events. What does it?
It's a very big umbrella. So at Stockton, we are part of the School of Business, because make no bones about it, hospitality is a business, right? Hospitality, travel, and tourism. And so the students need the business basics, accounting, right? We teach law, human resources management. So the nuts and bolts of a business for sure. But the hospitality component, we have what we call areas of interest. So they take restaurant and beverage as an area of interest. They can take travel and tourism as an area of interest, hotel resort operations as an area of interest. And then, of course, the most popular area of interest is event management. These students, lots of students want to get into events, large scale, small scale, weddings, festivals. It allows them the ability to kind of travel, but also to, be in that world on a large scale. So they love the events.
Well, if you're not the venue owner, there's a lot of freedom. You don't have to worry about getting sued. You don't have to worry about the security. All you have to do is worry about, I did it about 10 years ago. I was the venue owner, but I used to do live shows every weekend. And I always thought afterwards, I'll just get the equipment, the PA system, and I'll go, set up in Philly one day, in Delaware the next day, and you can make a ton of money in one day. So I can see where that's attractive. Plus, everybody wants to be their own boss, especially when they're right.
Yeah, they love the freedom element to your
Mhm.
also love the creativity element as well, where they can kind of, this generation gets all of their ideas between, Pinterest and obviously a number of places, but they can kind of pull them all together. And there's a really creative side to the events industry, and they love that.
Right. You can build a big social media, at least to market your events. That's a big plus. Where like Pinterest, I don't have Pinterest. I don't have Snapchat. I have like the Facebook and a few other ones. But whenever I tell young people about Facebook, they say, "Oh, that's for old people." I'm like, I guess I'm old. So
They say that, but they're there. Trust me, they're
they're
there.
all there because I messaged them all, and they see me when they see me at Wawa. They say that they see this or something like that. So where do you when the students are in college and they're studying, you're studying about business, do you tell them go out and get a job, go be a busboy, go be a hostess, go be a bartender?
Sure. So, tell them is strong. They're adults at this point. So we highly encourage, but in order to dangle even a bigger carrot, we have it built into the curriculum. So there is a part of the curriculum where it's called a professional work experience. It is a mandatory 400-hour industry experience, documented. So, proven by either pay stubs or an employer letter or whatever the case may be. And that's a precursor to the required for credit internship that they're required to do before they graduate. So, over 625 hours of industry experience have to be kind of documented, monitored, supervised, proven before they would graduate with a hospitality and tourism management degree. And that's critical because you can say you like it and you can sit through the classes and, like, to your point, kind of do anything theoretically, like learn something theoretically, but until you're boots on the ground and doing it. And those experiences are critical. They're not always what the student wants to do. They're not always great experiences. Yeah. Many times there are. And I can talk to you more about that if you want to hear more about,
Well, I think that really for me, as managers come in, it's, I would say over the last 10 years, a lot of my managers have never done what I do. And they don't understand the bar. They understand spreadsheets. They can order liquor. They can order wine, but they're not comfortable at a table opening up a bottle of wine or speaking about wine. And wine's a whole other thing that I think, takes years to get into. But, just that they know how to schedule me and how to eliminate overtime. They know how to keep food costs down. But then, when it really comes to there's a problem at this table, they lack that, or they lack what I'm going through. But the people that have come up, and when I started out, I was like old school European maitre d's, the guys that really took a lot of pride in everything. That's how I came up in the business. So now I'm like, and a lot of guys my age who've been around a long time, we get a kid, 25 years old, comes in, wants to change everything about our restaurant. It takes patience.
It definitely takes patience. So I would just ask you to be patient, right? Because we need the next generation of hospitality professionals. So it's important, and their fresh eyes and their bright eyes sometimes is inspiring to me, because I've been doing this a really long time, and so I'm always willing to take another look at different perspective. But I do get that they kind of want to come in guns ablaze and change the world. They know better, and that just I was that manager, right? I know now reflectively that I was that manager, and you just gotta be knocked off your peg, a couple times before you realize, oh, all right, I need to just learn. I always tell my students 2 of these and 1 of these. So do a couple, 2 times the amount of listening as you do talking, especially when you're in a learning position.
The fresh eyes are good because they do come in with different ideas, especially from social media and marketing. And a guy like me who does the same thing year after year can say everything's fine. And then you get somebody else with fresh eyes to say nothing's fine. This could be a lot better. So I would agree there. What I would recommend to everybody in your program right now, go to bartending school, because you can you can make more money easier bartending than you can as a server. And if you know how to do it myself, like I was just talking to a guy the other day, I've been a waiter forever. I've bartended here and there and I've made a few drinks, and obviously I know the drinks, but I haven't done it in like 20 years. So for me to go be a bartender tomorrow or pick up a job, it would be like me going to be a cook. I understand it. I just haven't done it. So I would say, go be a cook or go be a prep cook, 6 months, 8 months, understand what the chef is doing. Even if you don't know how to cook, understand how the kitchen works, because one Saturday night you're going to expedite. Right? And you have to run a whole kitchen for 9 hours. Learn how to make the drinks and bartend, and learn how to work the floor as a hostess. Learn how to seat, because everything's crazy in our business, and you have to understand how crazy it is for each individual part to bring them all together. That's my 2 cents for young people coming up.
No, I think your 2 cents is more like, $5, because I'm pretty proud of our curriculum. I mean, we require the work experience. So that is entry level students just trying to gain some industry experience, but that's mandatory, right? Mm-hmm. But we also have what we call an advanced food and beverage class. So you take the theoretical class where you're learning all of the things, menu design and the things like you said, maybe the spreadsheets and how to do scheduling. But then we've got a great relationship with Atlantic Cape Community College. And I don't know if you know Joe Sheridan,
yes.
But he's a culinary educator out at the Academy of Culinary Arts. He adjuncts for us and teaches our students what we call advanced food and beverage. So they are in a kitchen, right? So they go to the labs at ACCC. They're they're dicing, slicing, learning equipment in a kitchen, and they know they have to produce something at the end of that semester. So that's, and whether, they may have no interest in being, like you said, behind the line or cooking, but to have just that appreciation for that job, that food, that prep time, that experience. And although we don't teach bartending, so maybe we should talk about a partnership to embed that in our curriculum as well. I do teach a wine fundamentals class, and students might say, hey, Michael Bray. Students may say, well, I don't like wine. I said, you don't, it would be nice if you liked wine, but you don't have to like wine to learn how important it is in the food and beverage world.
Yeah, just basics. I always tell people, go buy a map. Go buy a map of California and a map of France and a map of Italy, and just start there and learn what regions, the difference between Napa and Bordeaux, learn what regions and what wines. And it doesn't take a long time, and you don't have to be an expert. And then you can go on to other places in the world, and if you get interested. But that's how I learned. I just started getting a map and started drawing it and saying, this is where Burgundy is, this is what Bordeaux is, this is the wine here, this is the wine there. I'm not a big...
This is their map.
Yeah, I know.
Michael.
I know. Look, I like write notes. I buy a notebook and write notes.
I'm with you. I'm still a pen and pal girl, but I also travel with these students. We have we have an elective that allows us to craft a what we call a study tour, and we study a particular region for the semester, and at the end of the semester we go on a 10-day trip to that area. It's been Italy, it's been Greece, and fingers crossed it will be France in spring 2021, but we'll see.
And did you just take part in their hospitality and like going out to dine, or do you go to, like
Correct.
a vineyard, or how to?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, you want to come back to school for this one. So we craft a tour around the majors, right? So we'll look at event venue. We'll definitely wine and dine, but we'll meet the chef and we'll talk about that culture's cuisine. We definitely went to an organic vineyard when we were took students to Barcelona. So we went outside of the city to go to a vineyard, but also to learn a little bit more about the culture. And then we do some of the touristy things too, obviously, because you're there and, why not? There's plenty of time. So we pack the trip with that, but really a cultural immersion as much as you can do in 10 days. But again, so just back to the funny part about like a map, because we're away from home and Wi-Fi might not be working. And so I say, that paper map comes in really handy when you're really far away and you need to find out where you're at. So they get a good appreciation of that as well.
I didn't get a phone until I was 32 years old. So, if I got it when I was 9 or 7, you grow up in a whole different world. But 32 years old, and I would forget it at home most of the time. I didn't need it till I was probably 40,
Correct.
Stuff. So how does teaching, since March, how did that change, and how were you able to, get everybody accredited so they could graduate and all online, all Zoom, all day?
Well, you think that that's going to be the plan, right? Because you're used to seeing them twice a week, every week, and there's just a lot like the hospitality. There's a lot of like very face-to-face, touchy-feely, not in a weird way, but just seeing students, seeing their facial expressions. You can, and I'm very, how are you? Is there anything going on? It's not just, you get to know them. They become your friends, and so anyway, to pivot to literally like say goodbye on one Thursday and not see them again for the remainder of the semester was hard. And so you're just talking about imagine everything that you do. Imagine doing what you do as a waiter and somebody saying to you, just do that through the computer now for the next 6 weeks. Just find a way to do that through the computer. So, I was going to talk to you about how a lot of industries have used technology during this time to really help and benefit them, right? Technology has really helped a lot of businesses. The hospitality industry so disproportionately affected by this because we have to deliver our product and service at the exact same time somebody's there to consume it, right? So it can't be like a car manufacturer and kind of making cars and having them sit somewhere, or widgets or clothes or whatever the case may be. Like, we deliver our product and service at the same exact time somebody consumes it. And so, that's in Intro to Hospitality, we teach that. So my goodness, how hard to, I think that's why we've been disproportionately affected, because we cannot do what we need to do. Mm-hmm. But education platform problem is consistency, right? Like, so everybody takes their version of what they were doing in the classroom and just kind of uses technology to put it online. I did start to meet with the students every single week on Zoom. And as the weeks went by, less and less students would show up. I'd be looking at a black screen. They wouldn't even be there. Their mics would be off. And so imagine just kind of talking into this black hole and wondering if anybody was there.
I talked to a comedian yesterday, and he does virtual shows. And he said, with no feedback, you're just talking in your house on a stage. He never knows how it goes.
Well, I watch those late night shows like Kimmel and all, and they're all at home.
Yep.
And say a joke, and it'll just be like
they're all awkward. Yeah, it's horrible.
It's awkward, right? And so again, but the difference with an educational product is there are requirements, and I do need you to respond in some way, but they just have the ability to respond in writing or so the transition has been challenging. And now with the pivot in the fall to multiple methods, the college has been great with giving us tips and tricks on, effective online learning and things like that. But I got to be honest with you, especially hospitality students, they want to be there.
Yeah. Well, if you're going into hospitality, you think that's how you're going to make your living. It's probably because you have a great personality and you're outgoing and you can attract people and you can start up any conversation with anybody. So it makes sense that you want to do things in person. What does the fall look like for you? Are you going back to school?
So Stockton University has offered a number of options trying to, I think, really accommodate everybody's needs, not without some, discomfort for sure. I want to be back in the classroom. Again, what I do is very difficult to do, online. So I prefer to be back in the classroom. I am going to do a hybrid version of my classes. So I'm going to try to meet one day a week in class and then do the remainder online. So I still have some high tech, but some high touch as well. But there are faculty members that have to, for a number of reasons, be fully online. There's some faculty that are going to try to be fully in the classroom. We've put our schedules out and have asked students to work what works best for them.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
As we were talking about, a lot of people are switching over or pivoting to virtual events if you're in a business. And we were saying the hard thing is to monetize it, because you can put something out for free and people will enjoy it. Maybe you can promote something, promote an event, like I can promote Waiter Nation through this. It's hard to monetize it because And then you said, okay, so if you get 100 people or 200 people watching, where's the food and beverage aspect? There is none. You're just a lot of people talking, right?
It's exactly what it is. So one of the classes that I had to switch to online was my wine fundamentals class in March. And we do tastings each week.
Mm-hmm.
So I quick got the remainder of the curriculum together, and shot all the students out what we would have been tasting and asked them to just, again, now remember, they would get to taste 1 ounce of 5 different wines. And now I was just going to ask them to go get a bottle of their own under whatever we were going to talk about. So that was the hardest class for me to pivot, because I really wanted everyone to still have that tasting experience.
Yes.
Able to do that online. Nothing
now you're all just getting drunk on a Zoom meeting, right?
Well, the problem is, right, I could control at the end of the day, they only had 5 ounces of wine. They would have 5 or 6, which ends up not even being one whole glass of wine. But now they're in class, right? And they're just like, go, 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 go. This is good. Yeah, I like this. And I'm like, so the classes were a lot shorter.
They're like, every time you say hospitality, they're having a drinking game at home. Let's go again.
Thank goodness they were very mature about it and very appreciative about how we shifted to online. But to your point, the monetization, right? It's interesting. There's more engagement, well, because I think we're kind of all stuck. So we've been able to increase engagement, so numbers. But again, would people go there? Would people be engaged if they had to pay $5 or $10 a piece? Right. And does a sponsor see that valuable? Like, I see this little ticker running at the bottom of your,
right.
Could you get enough viewers, Michael, that someone would want to be that ticker on the bottom, and would they pay you for that?
I think the challenge, and this is why I keep doing it and never quit, is because I've talked to a lot of people about, different sponsorship in one way or another. And if my name was Chef Nation, I'd have 100 sponsors. But Waiter Nation, that stigma sticks. So that's why I keep doing it. That's,
Let's work on that. I need to help. Yeah, because
and I think a lot of guys in my position, your husband's been on the floor, for a long time, and we feel like that we're talented experts, and that everybody else, especially like in these times, they say, well, just go get another job. You're just a waiter. Just go wait down, and these guys are making 80 grand a year. You're going to ask me to go make 20 grand a year. That doesn't help just to get the job. So that's always my goal, to, change the way people are looking at that. One thing that I've been thinking about is they have online courses where I would make a video and put it on this page, and then people pay subscriptions, and I would get paid like $1 a minute or 5 cents a minute or something to teach. And you can teach whatever you're an expert at, right? If you're an expert, you can teach. So that's one thing that I've been people have mentioned to me to go in.
Are you familiar with the Tipsy website? The Tipsy?
I don't use it, but I know a lot of people that do. Yes.
So that's pretty much what you're talking about. They do these snippets, and in the beginning of COVID, they made a lot of their content free to try to get your email address, and then obviously, again, a lot of this online engagement is creating a database that then you can use later to market or sell something. And that's exactly, so Tipsy's kind of doing that. And I've pushed that out to my students because these are really useful tips and tricks in the hospitality industry. I've always had trouble, Michael, and I'll be quite honest with you. I want to elevate the level of, when you say waiters, servers, what I call professional staff in a restaurant. That's how I describe it. But the education piece is always a difficult pull. Either they know everything and they don't need to get any further education, or, they don't reinvest. I find that servers and waiters, and, I think the union sometimes is a barrier, but servers and waiters don't always want to take that next level of education. And I've been trying for 20 years, quite frankly, in this climate, to come into casinos, to do training, to do education, to get maybe out to college, because there is a point, we talked about this before, I think we talked about this yesterday, that you kind of shift from the money to the management, right? And that's always a big leap.
It's the only industry that I can think of that the employees make more than most of the managers. So if you're in the business for 5 years and you're making 50 grand a year, just for example, To take the management job, you're probably going to make $35,000 a year and work more hours and have more responsibility. So I never did it as I was coming up, had a lot of opportunities because I'm single dad of 3 daughters, and I always needed that flexibility and always needed that extra money, that possible killer Saturday night to get me through every month, you know? So we were talking about it last week. It's strange that I can have 3 managers and they're all making less than me. Maybe the GM is equal or a little better, but you know, so then it's I can't think of any other foreman or any other industry that the employees make more than the managers, which is crazy, right?
It is crazy. I think sometimes that's an illusion, though, Michael. You're a success story, but how many of you are out there? Quite frankly, you've seen. If you had to count the turnover in service staff in general, it's really high because it's not sustainable, physically sustainable. It's very hard to do what you do for, right? It's very difficult. And you know, that make more money than the manager is always short term because, you know, I don't know what you contribute to your benefits. You happen to be a member of a union and a pretty strong union, but that's not the commonplace.
Correct.
When you go to cities, you know, when you go to, you know, other types of restaurant systems in cities and restaurant conglomerates, that's not always, they're not giving benefits to, you know, to servers and things like that. So it kind of is an optical illusion. And there is a point where the manager will eventually make more than the server with more stability and more benefits, I think. So
I definitely think so too. You can make a lot more contacts in the business when your liquor reps come in, when your wine reps come in, and then a lot of people will transfer into either still under the umbrella, but they'll be doing something else. I always said I want to talk about it. I don't want to do it. That's my goal, to end up talking about it and not doing it in person. But to go back about the wine, I have somebody coming on next week, and he's got the Wine Academy of Utah, and he's been doing tastings online and Zoom, and I mean he pivoted quick, and he still does his tastings. So I want to talk to him a little bit next week about how he's doing that, how everybody's getting the wine, and how it's going through.
I'll be sure to tune in because I belong to a number of wine, just whatever, whether it's clubs or associations or affiliations, and there are some where they tell you what to buy in advance and then make sure that you tune in, and then they give you a link on how to buy it. So you need all this kind of advance notice and investment. And then there's some that say, just join us. We'll be doing this and for a nominal fee. So there's really the spectrum. I'll definitely tune in. I'll be curious to hear.
Yeah, he waited with me at Old Homestead at Borgata, and he's from Utah. So we call him Jimmy Utah. Everybody knows him in the city, but he did great. He went from wine som to like having his own school. And I love that. Like he made it. He made money each step of the way and was able to figure that path out.
Passionate about what he was doing and then never took his eye off the ball. I love that. I'll definitely.
Unbelievable. He's so as far as the know-it-alls that you're saying, like come up and you can't teach them, we should definitely have an intern program in the casinos, because not just me, but a lot of the old guys, I mean, they're tough but fair. And if you come in and you think you know everything, they'll let you get in thicker weeds than you could ever dream of. And, if you can handle yourself and you're nice, and, then everybody will help you out. And it'll be the easiest money that you've ever made because you got a whole team behind you. So that would be a good thing to have interns. They bring a lot of European interns in the summertime, but not too many get on the floor. They're usually back of house jobs.
Right. And there's a number of reasons and barriers for that. And we can talk about that offline. Don't think that I haven't tried to do this for the better part of my career.
Okay. So as you're looking in, I mean, our hands are kind of tied, really tied. I mean, my restaurants have been closed for 4 months. Doesn't seem like it's going to open at least real soon. What do we look to after COVID? I think it's coming back stronger than ever. I think there'll be new opportunities. I think a lot of people get hurt, of course, but I think as it moves forward, the industry will grow and grow bigger because, like you said, everybody's sitting home talking. So they're brainstorming and they're saying, what if? And a lot of them don't make sense, but 2 or 3 ideas will and will take off. Is that how you see it after COVID?
Well, I do see creativity and technology kind of leading the way. So those people that stay in the game are probably the most creative, and then adapting as many technologies. And when I say technologies, just to be able to do what we do, maybe faster, easier. I've watched some of these technologies already being implemented with just the ability to, because people can't wait in a waiting area or wait at a bar anymore. So sometimes they have to like leave the area and maybe drive away or sit in a car, right? So just technologies that seem simple, like we'll just text you when your table's ready, things like that, that are going to allow for a seamless, reemerge, for lack of a better term, into the industry. I also tell my students now, because I'm teaching a summer internship class right now, and these kids are exhausted because it's hot, and they're all the server students are just baking, and they're doing doubles because they have not brought the whole staff back, or the people that did come back didn't feel safe or comfortable. So those students that are staying doing it are, but I told them that will pay off, because I think that those students that are willing to do that work are seeing, they're going to live through it, right? And they're going to get rewarded by being first in line when the doors kick wide open. And I do think we'll come back stronger than ever, because we just inherently want to move. We want to be social. Why do you think restaurants opening is such a big deal? Because we're all starving to literally, no pun intended, to be back in that environment where we can gather and break bread. I mean, so much work and play gets done at a dining room table, not at home with people, social interaction.
Yeah.
I need to stay positive, obviously, because it's my profession and I wouldn't look at it any other way. But I also know the resilience. I know the type of people, the grit that the people that work in the hospitality industry have. I just know it. And so I know we're going to be fine.
Yeah, when I always say that too, we adapt to everything. 5 minutes before opening, 100% of everything we've learned can change. And we adapt, and by 7 o'clock, we're going through it. And the young kids that are out there working the doubles and working hard right now, I tell everybody, when they get killed and they're in the weeds, they have problems, missing checks, I tell them, you'll come back tomorrow, you'll be better. Believe me, the more times you get your butt kicked, the better you get. I'm not good because I'm good. I'm good because I've been bad so many times. I've learned to overcome things and just make it,
Yep. Those mistakes and those failures are the best lessons, because you never want to be in that place again. And so you find a way, you find these really creative ways to make sure that doesn't happen again. We call it cognitive flexibility. That's our big career development word used in our career development class. But I make them actually literally put that on their resume. So somebody has to say, what's this, you claim you're cognitively flexible, right? And I'm like, that's your 10-cent word, but you go in and be able to say, I'm able to pivot because, my freezer went down 10 minutes before we opened our doors, or, we had a call out, or, whatever the case may be. They think that they're nightmare situations, and I say they're the things that make you better.
What's up, Fabian? How are you? He loves your enthusiasm and positivity.
Hey, Fabian. Thank you.
Yeah, to be able to pivot and to be able to move like that. When the two questions in an interview, what's your weakness? What's your strength? A strength, I think, is always fairly easy. What's your weakness? What's the and the sarcastic answer is, I'm a perfectionist, right? And they don't want to hear that you're like a perfectionist fault, and I worry about everything, and sometimes that slows me down. And I think they're like, they don't want to hear that you're a perfectionist. They want to hear a weakness. So what's your advice for that type of interview answer? It's
a great question. And honestly, I don't want to say it depends, because I'm going to give you a real answer, but I mean, I'm teaching 19, 20-year-olds, right? For the most part. So their weakness is legitimately their lack of experience.
Right.
Legitimately the fact that, they don't know everything they need to know. And so, they have to be completely on. Most students, come into career development saying, and I want them to be confident and talk about every strength that they have, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's important, but a little bit of humility, look, I don't know everything, and I want to work in a place where I can learn and where I can grow, but I'm going to tell you, I'm a quick study. And that's the kind of responses. And not everybody, that's not the truth for everyone. We also do an assessment, Michael, called Strengths Finder. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a tried and true, proven. The Marriott organization uses it for hiring, and really, it's very personal. It assesses, and instead of we ask a question in the beginning of career development. Give me things that you're bad at, and you could list like 10 things, right? But give me things that you're good at, and people are always generally hesitant or find it harder to list things that they're strong at. And so this whole book takes a perspective of just work with your strengths. Don't try to fix your weaknesses. Just surround yourself with people that maybe have what your weaknesses are, are their strengths, right, and build a good team. So do
they don't want to talk about their strengths because they feel like they're bragging, or they're just kind of self-conscious to say, is that where it comes from?
Yeah. It's well, they're not totally confident, because when you put it on paper and you have to tell an employer, I'm proficient in something. Boy, you better be proficient, right? Because that's going to get tested. So then there's this fear to really say, because at 19 and 20, what are you really bringing to the table, right?
Right.
Just your enthusiasm, your willingness to learn, the grit. Like I said, some students come to me, and have been working 3 jobs for 5 years, and they've got 3-page resumes at 20 and 21-year-old. So then I have to say, all right, well, that can look bad the other way too. So lots of individual cases, but just finding that happy medium between, it's called a break-even point, right? When are you delivering to the employer what they've invested in you, in time, money, training, right? When do you finally start to give back to that equation?
I was watching a podcast, I think it was Joe Rogan yesterday, and whoever his guest was, he was saying that he learned how to become invaluable when he was younger, and he got the advice that he was a pool boy, so $30 to clean the pool. And the owner of the house, he said, listen, you come to clean my pool, you clean my windows, you fix all my patio furniture, you sweep off the patio, you make it so I can't live without you. If I get another pool guy, he's not as good as you, so I can't let you go. And I thought I never heard it put that way, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, you always go the extra mile. For me, it's showing up early. I can't stand a 5-10 minute late. If I have a guy that I'm training, I can't even talk to him for a half hour, because you just showed me you don't care. Now, if something's good, I don't mind. But if it's every day and I think, well, you don't care, you're like getting a shower, talking to your buddies on the phone. You're like, I'll be there whenever I'm there. And I think you don't care, but this is actually what I do.
This is what I do. This is my profession, and I'm proud of it. Right. Early is on time.
And so here's another good interview question. This is Mike Lielli. Mike, he owns Primal Surf and Brigantine. And he was my maitre d' for a long time and manager. Anyway, 5 mushrooms. Name 5 mushrooms. He would always say that because, you just, well, what? Like 5 mushrooms, portobello, people are going through. And that's where he wants to see, especially if somebody's an expert. If somebody comes in with a resume, he doesn't get them with the wine and the different, you can talk about that, but 5 mushrooms. That's
great.
That always sticks. Before I walk into an interview, I always go over my mushrooms just in case it happens. But that was a good.
All right. I'll work that one into career development, just so.
Or if somebody's a boss and you can, because even if you don't know the answer, a good answer is always, you might know 3 mushrooms, but you can't just say, I know 3 mushrooms and nothing else. You have to,
right.
It's how you're answering it. But and another manager, my buddy Randy, he's my boss right now. In every interview, he goes through the resume and he looks for interests. And he goes, oh, you were a tennis player at college? Tell me about it. He doesn't care about where you worked at all. He just cares about what you're in. Oh, you did this? Oh, you did that? Tell me about it. I used to do that when I was a kid. I have a kid, he just wants to see how do I like this person? Would I like working with them every day? Or are they, likability?
I tell my students all the time, because they'll give me their first draft of resume, no course content whatsoever about resumes, and I'll just take them. And sometimes I'll give one back and say, I don't know anything about you. You've just given me an entire page of words, and I don't know anything about you. Tell me something about you, right? And to your point, I remember my husband got a job once because he put that he ran a marathon on his resume, and the person interviewing him not only was a runner, but was so impressed that he'd run a marathon. But he said it also translated in that anybody that has the determination, the drive, the ability to train for something like that is going to be good. Like it translates into your personal life, right?
Exactly. Right. That makes a lot of sense, that if you can prove that you're like Eagle Scouts, they prove that they finished something, so you're going to finish. You applied yourself and you're finished. It makes a lot of sense.
Yep. When I travel with students, there's an interview process. So this is 10 days immersed, day in, day out, sleeping, eating, breathing, drinking, everything with students, right? And so there's a lot of people that may not be able maybe to do that. So when I interview them, it's, inevitably the girls have been Girl Scouts and the boys have been Boy Scouts, because there's this sense of adventure and there's an ability to, venture out and solve a problem and not be afraid and all of those things. So those things are important.
Yeah, I used to. I pursued acting for a long time. I didn't interview. I auditioned every day for like years, and I love interviews now because it's like a cold audition. I just go in. You can read the paper or not, but let's just have some fun. So I like to think that I'm a good interviewer, and it all comes down to likability, is what I've always been told. So moving forward, what do you see in tourism in Atlantic City? You're involved in a lot, like John's events and the conventions, and I'm sure you work with Larry and going through, right? So,
sure.
And we're just on like complete shutdown right now, no large gatherings, and we can't. But are you talking about how to come out of this? Is there those discussions going on?
There's a lot of discussions going on, unfortunately. I mean, to the point, meeting after meeting after meeting. And there's kind of a pulse you have to take. Tourism is always generally 4 factors, right? You have the tourists, so you have to take the pulse of the people that are willing to come to your destination, wherever that might be. You've got the business entities that are that are involved in that. You've got the government always plays a role in the tourism umbrella, and then you have the residents of a community, right? Because they affect where the destination, quite frankly, and how things are handled. So the conversations revolve around those 4 things lots of times. And the biggest thing is just, for the conventions and things like that, it's really going to be driven on whether the companies and the businesses are going to support that kind of travel and that kind of gathering. So unfortunately, through the end of this year, a lot of these mass, especially on this East Coast, where unfortunately we were high in numbers in COVID, right, between New York and Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Delaware. This is like a lot of our draw. When you have something like a teachers convention like NJEA, right, which you're very familiar with, we can't even figure out what we're doing to get kids back in the classroom, let alone are people gonna travel and gather. And so unfortunately those conversations are shifting to next year, 2021. I don't really see anything happening between now and the end of the year. Although there were some discussions yesterday about if we can fill an airplane, why can't we fill a theater? Right?
Everything's very frustrating, and everything is very polarizing, that everybody has such strong opinions, and then the money runs out, and then everybody gets poor quick too. So there's a lot of that.
The finances are real. I mean, the ability to, and again, with all those 4 entities that I said, funding from different places for all 4 of those factors. And so trying to find some harmony in what we call our tourism product. The other conversation I just had yesterday, one of the things you look at is, and I don't know if you're familiar with the South Jersey Transportation Authority, we look at toll numbers, we look at toll traffic.
Yes.
Through that Atlantic City toll, and needless to say, what March numbers look like, what April numbers look like, what May number look like, and then the slight uptick for July, obviously when the casinos started to open. But there's going to be a huge toll increase in September on the Atlantic City Expressway
to $1.25.
I just know it's a 37% increase. I don't know what
I think it's like whatever. If it's 150, it goes up to like 275. It's a lot. Yeah, it's
a lot. And so, will that be a barrier right? For all of the factors. So the employees that need to travel, the residents that need to live there, the tourists that need to come to our destination, do things like that. So decisions made by one of those four entities affect the other three in a negative way. So when you look at tourism, and I'm getting a little in the weeds here, and I don't mean to do that, but
No.
look at all of these things that play a role. So as far as events, we are very fortunate to have large outdoor space. We just don't have consumer confidence for patronage. And so that causes a barrier.
Are there any options that people are talking about now to do virtually that you can make some money, or is it just kind of getting together and organizing to make your contacts to be ready for when you do have the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, so there's lots of virtual ideas for gathering, but that whole making a money out of it,
Yeah.
it's really more to keep people engaged. So when you come back, that you have people that, you haven't been gone. So any way that you can kind of keep people connected and in you, whether it's your organization, your entity, whatever the case may be. And I know you said don't have a lot of social, but a lot of the companies that keep, just activity out there about what they're doing or who's involved in what they're doing or where they're at, is, keeps in your forefront, because if you have to go look for a business and wonder, what are they doing? Are they even still open? It's kind of scary to be out of sight, out of mind right now.
That's true. Do you, do your students get involved in like becoming booking agents? Do they go that route? I had somebody on last week that was doing that. I kind of almost did that along the way. It's a cool industry.
Those jobs are few and far between. I think you know that. There's not a lot of them, and they take years of kind of industry networking to do those jobs. So there's interest in those things. I mean, and we have a lot of students, like I said, that go through that event path. So we work with a company. We gave a certificate out last year that we worked together with Harrah's, Caesar's organization, called an event design certificate. And we hosted it at Stockton in Atlantic City. And we offered that certificate education to some of our students and some of our faculty as a joint agreement to host the certificate. So there are folks like from Major League, like NFL, to use their event space for event design for all kinds of events, whether they be fundraisers or concerts or whatever the case may be. So students are really looking towards event design and things like that on that level more than what you just said.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I worked with a young girl and she told me that she wants to be an event planner. And I said, really? I said, what are you doing? And she said, well, I follow the planner for the Kardashians. And I thought, yeah, that's not how that's an interest, but you're not learning.
Right. Well, I mean, you might be learning, about all the, I don't know. I don't even know how you would follow the planner for the Kardashians, but
on Instagram or something. And then they show that, like, oh, I designed this room for this event and I designed this room for this event. It's pretty, it's eye appealing, but it's not, you're not learning, where did they get that sofa from? How do you get these contacts? How do you get the drapes? How do you make them work?
Right.
Construction guys coming in, these are all phone calls that you have to make in advance to plan and set up, what kind of is it grass or is it tarp? Is it, are there lights? Are there candles? Are there like that's how you learn.
And that's what our event track teaches these students. Just that EDC, that event design certificate, is one class, one component of that. But that's exactly what you're talking about. Like starting with schematics, right? Flow of people, from size and scope. How are people getting in and out? And how are you communicating the message? Everything across the board. One semester we did a case study and followed it's not a meeting planner. He was a travel planner for the Philadelphia Phillies. And so these students are putting travel and tourism together with, I try to show them paths that they wouldn't necessarily think of. It doesn't always have to be in a hotel or a casino or a resort. So you look at a Major League Baseball team and there's someone solely in charge, all the hotel accommodations, all the travel accommodations, all the meal accommodations, that person's job. So we followed them for a semester to learn just about the ins and outs of something like that. Again, few and far between those jobs, but enough to intrigue a student to say, they even have them for colleges and universities. So we have an event management department at Stockton.
Yeah, even like Ocean Casino right now, their players club, they moved outside in their parking garage, which sounds like what? And I've seen the pictures. You can't tell they're outside because they laid carpet down. They put drapes up. They're outside, and the tables are out there, and they have lighting out there. And that was somebody that came in and designed a giant space that was outside that had a roof. So, you don't get rained out. And it looks amazing. And they're outside, and they're all in compliance. And that would go to what you were just saying, the event planner. So somebody
Right.
sketched this all out.
Yep.
Did the budget for it, said this is what it's going to cost, this is how many days it's going to cost to get it. We're going to have to use a rug, so now you need contacts. You're going to call purchasing and all that. It's very, very detailed. It's not
Sure.
looking at something pretty.
Sure. And now, I mean, just think about just now that when I go back full circle to that level of creativity. So those people, students, companies that think like that have the ability to kind of pivot and do something like that.
Yeah. Do you know James Hennessy? He was a chef in the area, and he's the executive chef for Lincoln Field. And I'm going to, I hope that he wants to come on one day, because because that seems like if you're a chef, like when you're a kid, if you're a chef, you want to be the chef at Lincoln Field, more so than a 5-star restaurant, because it's so much fun. And
Wow. Is that a Aramark contract? Do you know what the food?
I think it is, but
Okay.
I don't know the details behind that. So
I'll tune in.
he's pretty well known in the area because he worked at Brigada for a long time. His wife is pretty well known in the area. I don't even know if he's listening. If he is, this is the first time he heard that I want to have him on the show. But I just always think, like, who's interesting people I can talk to in the business? But
Let's get him on. I want to hear it.
where are we moving forward then? We're just trying our best right now, and then try to come out of this on a positive side.
Oh, of course. Well, obviously positive. Hopefully we can get back in the classroom at least part-time.
Mhm.
As long as the weather stays nice, our local restaurants can still keep trying to do
Yeah.
what we're doing. As far as outside service, I mean, I know how bad we need indoor dining
Yeah.
in this area, because I worry about, the off season and no conventions, and I just worry about, because,
Well, there needs to be more opportunities, because I think that a lot of them, and I've talked to them, that are doing outside dining right now are thriving. The beer gardens, and they have the nice spaces to do it. Although there's only a few restaurants open, so the competition isn't there, so they're doing well. So and guys like me, there's only a few places you can work. So we definitely need more opportunity for everybody, and the dollar to be spread around a little bit so everybody can eat.
True.
What's your final thoughts today? I'm out on my whole page.
No, that's good. At 52 minutes, I don't think we're out. I think that's
yeah, that's good. That's usually where we are.
Yeah, we did good. I would say let's obviously remain positive, but I think that there's also power in numbers. I mean, I think we are a strong network in a small little city, which is a tourism mecca, but we're stronger together, right? And I think more that we can kind of band together, and because we're not always good at kind of beating our own, waving our own flag kind of thing, beating our own drum. We're kind of disparate, and I know we could just do better as far as staying connected and giving a positive message, and then fighting for what's right, the best interest of our industry professionals, for sure.
Awesome.
I just be positive.
Well, I thank you for coming on. I have 15 minutes went by very fast. Don't check out. I'm going to go off live, but we'll still be on to talk. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you again. I got some people coming in next week.